Hey guys, it's Daisy Bateman here with a new podcast series, Happy Days. Each week I will be talking to some of your favourite players and diving into their lives outside of football. To keep up to date with the podcast, check out all of North's socials and visit nmfc.com.au for more content. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome back to Happy Days. Today I am joined by another amazing guest, the ultimate trailblazer, an amazing woman and the new president of North Melbourne Football Club, Sonja Hood. How are you going, Sonja?
Going great, Dais. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Did you like the intro?
Loved it. Did you write it?
Yeah, of course, of course. Nice. Off air just then you were telling me about what your day looked like. For people that are listening and not watching, Sonja's wearing a power suit. So she's looking exactly how she is, a businesswoman, a busy woman. What was your day like for what you can tell us?
Today I have had a lot of coffees with people, a lot of catch-ups. I met with a board member, I met with an AFL commissioner, I went to the AFL for a meeting there. I've just addressed the men's playing group.
Yep.
And now I'm talking to you. So the suit felt like the right way of doing it, but I do have a pair of Pumas on with the suit.
Exactly.
You can't see, but they are there.
Yeah, but comfortable. Comfort is key.
Comfort is my mantra.
Yeah, love it. So tell me a little bit about the last 2 weeks. It's probably been absolutely hectic for you, I'm sure.
Been crazy. I describe it to people as like drinking from the fire hose while you're standing under a tsunami. There's just stuff coming from everywhere, information, names, opinions, people to meet. Everybody has been fantastically supportive and a fair amount of work to do. And I've still got my day job in the midst of everything else.
That's great. So you've probably come in at a unique time as a president in the sense of like the women's season's just finished, the men's season's starting, obviously a disappointing end to the women's season and an interesting first couple of weeks for the men. How has it been for you? Like obviously you're the president, but you're also a North fan as well. So that must be hard.
It is hard. Probably the hardest thing is not actually really being able to watch games on game day. And even though you're there, there's lots of other things you need to do or be responsible for.
Yep.
And so the ability to sit back and just watch football has changed, and I miss that.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed with the way our women's season ended. I suspect you'd share my disappointment.
Absolutely.
With that. But I'm really proud of the girls and the journey that we as a club have been on and the girls have been on. So looking forward to that continuing whenever the next season starts. And yeah, tough start to the season for the men. 1 win, 2 losses, one probably highly regrettable loss. But we are, again, on a journey with those guys. So we'll see where that goes.
So you've obviously been a North supporter, as I alluded to before. Is this the dream job? Is this how you envision your life to be like?
It probably is the dream job. I never really dreamt of it. So that's an interesting reflection for me, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I'm as pleased as punch to be in it. I grew up watching footy at this ground. In the 70s, we had reserved seats here when I was a kid. My dad used to bring me and my sisters. We came to every home game. We travelled all over Melbourne to go to the away games. I genuinely didn't know where suburbs were if they didn't have a football ground in them. That's how I navigated the state. Geelong was a day trip. That was a big one. There was really no interstate football back then. So, Geelong was travel. It's a fantastic way to grow up.
Absolutely. And I guess I've known you for a while now. You've been around since I actually got to the club. Seems like you've always been around. So for context for people that are listening, how much has your role within the club changed? So you were on the board before the presidency?
Yeah. So I've been on the board since 2019, but I actually worked at the club between 2010 and 2015 setting up the huddle and working with the huddle. So I was around for 5 years then, had a bit to do with the beginnings of women's football here. I'm not going to take credit for embedding it in the club, but I was certainly part of it.
Yep.
And I've always been a champion of it. And I've been really happy to be on the AFLW journey since we first got a side. Which is still later than we should have got a side, but better late than never.
We got there in the end, right? Yeah. And the people that you've seen throughout the journey, obviously it's a footy club, lots change. So, like, there's so much change. Even I've found since I've been here is even our program, the AFLW program, there's there's new people every year. There's people that leave, go, staff, players, everyone. How much have you seen North Melbourne evolve whilst you've been here, like, working?
In terms of AFLW or in terms of the whole club?
The whole club.
Changed in many ways beyond recognition, but at its core, it's still the same club. At its core, the essence of who we are is still the same. And that value, that shin boner, permeates everything, and it's absolutely critical to everything. This club's always innovated first. It's always had to think outside of the square, partly because we're smaller and we've had to, partly because it's part of who we are. We've never been an establishment club in that way. We've always been an innovative club, and I'm really proud of that. So since I've been here, this building's grown out of beyond recognition. The ground is beautiful. We're pushing now into the Arden Precinct development, which should see us within the next 5 to 10 years with there'll be a second oval, which we'll have access to. We've done some incredible work with our community, and we've embedded women's footy and men's footy in this building in a way that I don't think most other clubs have managed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And even like my captain, Carnes, who's everyone's favourite person, she's now head of leadership and education at the Huddle, and she loves it. Like, I was speaking to her about it the other day, and I feel like the Huddle really does reflect what North Melbourne is, a community kind of involving club that everyone really cares for each other, and it's very small. Yeah. And everyone knows each other. That's the thing. You're a part of a club that's, really small but really powerful.
It's so important. And the most important thing the Huddle did, to be perfectly honest, was to say to the community around here, what do you need from us? Rather than, we're a big football club with closed doors. You can come in on our terms. We ask them in on their terms. And so when I was here, the two most simple things that we did were Friday night basketball. Kids would come in and play basketball on the basketball court. They self-organised, and we made that possible. And afternoon study for teenagers. So there was plenty of homework programs for younger kids, but nothing for teenagers. And that model's been Huddle's replicated that model all over the place now. But it is a fantastic thing. And so people come in, and it's not about doing what we want them to do. It's about doing what they need in their community. And having Carney involved in that is just tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, what a privilege to have her leading us both on and off field.
Absolutely. And talk a little bit about where you found your passion for community. Like, where did you find all of these passions? How are you so passionate about something like the Huddle? Obviously, everyone here is, but where did you find that passion?
Yeah, I don't know, actually. I think probably in 2007, when the AFL wanted to move the club to the Gold Coast, which is a long time ago now, but a really important year for us. I don't think I'd really clicked until then just how important the footy club was to me. And in that year, I met a hell of a lot of other people, and the footy club was really important to them too. And I think that's the thing that got me starting to think beyond my experience of footy, actually what did this mean to other people, and its role as a connector, as giving people the chance to belong to something. You meet people at footy who you'd never meet in your life. Yeah. You may share nothing in common but your footy team, but that becomes your language.
Absolutely.
And it's fantastic. I've made some lifelong friends from that year. Just some amazing people, and we now joint sponsor players in the men's and women's, and we go to games, and I really love that experience. And I think that in 2010, when the club approached me about the Huddle, the attraction to me was about bringing that sense of belonging or joining to other people in the community, which essentially is what the Huddle does. It is all about creating connection and creating a sense of belonging. If isolation is one of the biggest mental health problems we've got, well, what's the counter to that? It's connection. Yeah. And it's pretty straightforward. So I'm really passionate about that. I'm not particularly interested in what's the right way of putting this? I'm not particularly interested in a welfare approach to community. I don't think you pat people on the head and give them a handout and tell them their worth, or tell them how grateful they should be. I think there is something really powerful about enabling people to be the best they can be, and environments like this do that.
Where did you learn that though? Like that's amazing, but where did you learn all of this?
I think from probably partly life experience, partly having had the opportunity to come in and see, again, the work in the huddle was done by some phenomenal people and still is done by some phenomenal people who had some really good ideas about how community development should look and how it should look within a footy club. The huddle had the backing of Peter Scanlon from day one, and, you know, again, Peter's ethos is all about enabling, not squashing people down, which I think is really important.
Yep.
The work I do now with community hubs, which is around working with migrant women and children, we've got 97 sites across Australia and communities across Australia. And again, it is all about helping people connect in with their community through their school, through their children, learn English, learn skills, participate in their schools, and leads on to employment. So, yeah.
It's funny because, like, even listening to you, it seems like both of your worlds have collided in a weird way, because you have a passion for the football club, but you also have a passion for helping people and including people. Inclusivity is pretty much what you can kind of define what you've just said. You're not squashing people down, you're including. It's a community sense. But it's just funny to think you have these two passions and you've kind of merged them together.
I feel really privileged to be able to do that. And I think what happens for a lot of people is they have to be one person in one part of their life and a different person in another part of their life.
Yep.
I think the opportunity to live your value set across all the things you do is remarkably privileged.
Yep.
But let's not get this, let's be real about this. Inclusion is a real opportunity for our club, and the opportunity to have more people involved or more skills involved or a different angle as a club is really important to us as a club.
So how do you see the next couple of years at North Melbourne? I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but what are you going to do different?
I don't think it's different so much as an extension on what's already been there. So me becoming president and the board that we have is not a change, it's a logical next step. So if we think about it, after 2007, James Brayshaw and Eugenia Rocker as CEO, followed by Carl Delena, did a phenomenal job of just getting the foundations of the club right, got the buildings built, gave members back control of the club, or enabled members to take back control of the club with the support of the extraordinary shareholders at the time who elected to do that.
Yeah.
The facility and all of that change, and at the same time started paying down debt and really built for a push at on-field success. And we played in a couple of preliminary finals, and in the men's team did really well. And then started our AFLW program. Under Ben Buckley, we've continued that growth, so continued development of the facility, really embedded the AFLW program, had a really overt push at shifting our men's program to a future tilt for success, and finished off paying off that debt.
Yep.
So I come in at a point where all the change that has happened internally is done.
Yep.
So that's pretty stable. So our goals are, we're looking for on-field success, men and women's.
Yep.
I couldn't say any of us were happy with the way the women's finished, and none of us are that wrapped about the first 3 weeks of the men's, but we understand we're on a journey here.
Yep.
And you can't look at any individual game in the context of itself. It's got to be in the context of the bigger picture. So we'll be asking the questions of, are we improving where we need to improve?
Yeah.
So on-field success, the balance sheet, we've got rid of our debt, that's fantastic, but we don't have assets, we need some. The third thing is Arden and the Arden precinct, and again the redevelopment around here, which offers us a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
The fourth one is the stuff we talked about before, the values and the inclusion, and I think that's important, and it's particularly important for the players and the staff we're trying to attract to the club, as well as our members.
Yep.
And that brings me to my last one, but by no means not least, and probably most important, is our members. We're a member-based club. We exist for them and because of them.
Do you think you're in a better position because you've been in the shoes of members? Like, in the sense of you've supported the club before, you've been in the position, you're still a member, I'm guessing, and you're still a supporter, but you're in a different position now where you have the power to change things or to continue things if you see fit. do you feel like you have multiple perspectives of being a member, being a fan, coming to the Oval and watching it growing up as a North supporter? Do you think that gives you a kind of another bat?
I think it's a real advantage. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a superpower. I think you you are one of this incredible group of people who love this club.
Yeah.
And I will never take that for granted. So channeling that and that perspective and knowing that when I say the club's first, I'm not here for any other reason. There's no other if I wanted to, there are plenty of other things you could do with your discretionary time that probably come with more money and less grief than a football club. But I think seriously, you should never forget where you come from, and you should never forget the people who put you where you are and who, in the end, are responsible not just for the history of this club but its future.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Love it. So let's go on to some fun questions. A simple one. Favourite players. Let's talk favourite players, Sonja.
Current?
We'll go for the men's of all time. Hard question.
No, I was a Ross Glendinning girl as a kid, so I had the number 4 on my back. Was a massive fan of Ross. Probably in the era before this one, really hard to go past Drew Petrie.
Yes.
One of my favourite people as well as a favourite player. And if we're talking current, again, Ben Cunnington. How do you go past Ben? Epitomises everything that's great about this club.
It's funny. I think every single guest has said Ben Cunnington. Yeah. Everyone loves him. He is the heart and soul of the club, though. That's the thing.
He is, yeah.
He's one of the kindest people that walk around, and he for someone that's such a superstar on the field, he is so modest off it.
Yeah, he is. And if I was going to extend past Ben in the current lot, hard to go past Jai Simpkin.
Yep.
But again, some really exciting talent coming through too.
And women's?
Look yourself, Dais, and we did have a talk about this beforehand, but you're pretty hard to go past, and when you are on, we win. So
thank you.
But the perennial favourite for me is the captain.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's everyone's favourite. She's my favourite.
Yeah, she is the quintessential captain. When she lifts, we lift.
Yeah.
And some of her greatest moments have been in the moment where you really needed a captain to stand up.
Absolutely. Sometimes I find myself on the bench having a rest and just watching Carnes and going, how on earth did you just do that?
Yeah, amazing. Also has the most wicked sense of humour.
Yeah, she's quirky, isn't she?
Yeah, she is quirky, which does come as a surprise sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So I would say you're up there with AFLW's number 1 fan. You love our team.
I love you. I really love you.
Yeah. And we love you too, obviously. But we do get great messages from you before a game. You should see our group chat go off as soon as you send a message. Everyone's like, oh, she's done it again.
Some of them are a bit random though, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's the fun of it. That's the whole point. I mean, you can't just repeat yourself every single week. You've got to come up with a new story or where did your passion for AFLW come?
I didn't know I was going to be passionate about AFLW, to be honest. I didn't know a lot about women's footy. I had met some great women through women's footy, and I remember when the women from the Muggers first came, the Melbourne Uni women's footy team first came to talk to us about training on the Oval, and lots of people came and asked for time on this Oval, but the Muggers were the first group who ever turned up and offered us something in return. And what they said was, they would help us in the huddle and they'd help us with Saturday morning Auskick if they could train. They would put volunteers up. No one else had ever done that before. And so I met some really amazing women through that process and through that team. And so that was probably my first encounter. My daughter played for the Muggers, one of the junior teams, and again, I loved the ethos of it and I loved the inclusivity of it. She had wanted to do roller derby and we did AFLW instead, and that was was a better get. And then once the team started playing, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're around it a lot as well. That's the other side of it, is even you and Ben Marfio, I feel like after every game, win, loss.
We come to everything, and we are the cheer squad. I reckon my role sometimes is keeping him alive because I swear he's going to have a heart attack during the game. He's a very passionate supporter, as am I. There's lots of reasons to hate COVID, but the thing I've hated about it the most is that it has been really hard for us to provide you girls with a sense of being part of a club. We can't have outsiders in.
Mm-hmm.
We've had board members at every game. You don't know that because they're not allowed in the rooms.
Yeah.
Families not allowed in. There have been family who've missed jumper presentations and first games.
Yeah.
All the stuff that we would normally do.
Yep.
That first year where we had much more interaction and crossover between the men and the women, that's gone pretty much.
That was so important.
Yeah.
Like, I reflect on one of my most memorable experiences was going up to receive my jumper with Luke McDonald from Glen Archer.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I didn't grow up a North Melbourne supporter. I barracked for Geelong. But as soon as I walk through these doors, Glen Archer's name, it's held in very high esteem.
Yeah.
And having that moment, even sharing it with Luke as well, who we've come from a similar area, and Donald's the best. They've got a new McDonald management office around the corner from my house.
Right.
So I see Donald a bit. But those kind of moments are so special. And there's some young players that come through now and, you know, on the odd occasion you walk past a male player as they leave and we enter. And, yeah, we all say g'day, but those moments change your whole experience.
Yeah, and it's one of the things I think we've really got to think about after, that COVID season's gone, playing in January's gone, playing on those hard grounds is gone. So there'll be lots of improvements. You know, there'll be a bit of challenge in the timing of the next season. But one of the real improvements we've got to look at is how we get back that sense of team. Also, I hope you ring the McDonald's after this and ask for a payment for that.
Yeah, it was a good plug.
It was a good plug.
Well, Luke does plug it.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yep. I mean, it's up at Marvel Stadium there, or is it MCG? They've got a banner or something.
Yeah.
Because they've got the corporate box there, but I've just plugged them again.
Yeah, see,
I need to stop.
Yeah.
So now you're one of 4 female presidents.
Yep.
I mean, you've alluded to it, but how important is female representation in the AFL industry?
It's critical. Absolutely critical. And it's not just female representation, that's the start, and it's really important. And 4 out of 18?
Yep.
That's a good start.
Yep.
No female CEOs. I think across all the football codes there's one female CEO at Melbourne Victory, Caroline Carnegie, who's a big North supporter and an incredible woman. But there's nobody else.
No.
So we've got a bit of work to do.
Yep.
But there are a whole lot of other diversity pieces that we need to start to really pick off. And 2 things. One is the old adage of you can't be what you can't see.
Yep.
Girls need to look up and see female footballers, female CEOs, female presidents.
Absolutely.
And know that's a possibility for them. But the second one is if you're closing out, let's just start with women. If you're closing out women from running things, you're reducing your talent pool to half or less of what it could be. It's nonsense.
Okay, let's go back to quickfire. You grew up in Orphan.
Yep.
For the 90s. Obviously, we had a quite premiership success.
Yep.
Where were you for the grand finals? Were you at the games?
I was living in London, so I didn't get to any of them. So 96, I watched from a hotel room on the M2. We drove to a hotel that had Sky Television, and the first one we went into didn't have Sky Sports, so we actually checked out, drove down the road to the next one, checked in, so we could find. I wasn't very rich back then, so it was about finding the cheapest way to watch the game. 98, I took out a year of Sky Television myself, which again was a big deal back then.
Yep.
Yeah, and we lost that, and I had a year's worth of pay TV to pay for. 99, I watched in an Irish pub in Kilburn. I was heavily pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And, so I didn't get home for any of them.
Okay. Well, obviously we're going to have to win a premiership soon so you can be here for one.
More or less how I feel about this, yep.
Did you like Darren Crocker as a player?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He actually showed me his 15-minute highlight reel once.
Did he?
He was quite impressive. Yeah. Is it crazy like walking around seeing all of these past players from many different clubs? Do you think that that is the way to, I'll phrase the question again, but yeah, do you think it's important to have people that have been in the system? So, for example, we have different coaches. Darren Crocker has played in the men's league. You walk around the football department of the men's, and I don't think many of them weren't in the system. You have like Gavin Brown, Anthony Rocker, these household names that everyone knows. How important do you think that is for the club? Because we've obviously reshaped our coaching staff over the last couple of years, and it looks very different now to what it did. So do you think that benefits the club?
I think having the best people for the role in the role is the benefit to the club.
Yep.
And if the best people are past players, and in coaching ranks they often are, that's going to be a benefit to the club. I think it's really important when you consider where majority of coaches are past players, right? So a lot of the debate around women will actually become more intense in the next couple of years as we start to get a cohort of retired female players, because they'll be pushing into the ranks of coaching and of commentary, like amazing commentators, in my opinion. They
Daisy
read a game
Pearce.
really well. Daisy's fantastic.
Carney's great as well.
Carney's terrific. And I think so that's going to make everybody lift their game in those spaces. That's a real positive for mine.
It just shows how exciting the future is as well for football.
Yeah.
Did you play football at all?
Nah, can't kick a footy, Days.
Okay.
Can't kick, can't hand pass. Best if you don't pass me something, I'll drop it, and I will look like someone with two left hands.
So you didn't play any sport growing up?
Played netball because that's what girls played back then.
Yep.
And I was tall and uncoordinated, so I therefore was goalkeeper.
Okay.
Because that's all I could be reliably relied on to do.
So you actually you can't catch a ball?
Can't. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you have to come to a training and have a kick with us then.
You say no. Yeah. No. I stay in your lane. And where is my lane? My lane is governance. I'm good at that.
Talk to me about the male to female ratio on our board, and where do you see that kind of heading?
We've got 2 women on our board at the moment, so myself and Susanna Ristevski, who's Chief Marketing Officer at NAB.
Yep.
We will appoint another woman to our board. It will happen when we find the right person with the right skill set.
Yep.
So I feel really good about that. I feel that the board has undergone quite a lot of change over the last couple of years. It's a very solid skill-based board.
Yep.
And the questions of diversity are really important.
Love that. My last quick fire question for you is, tell us something we don't know about you.
Well, I was in an episode of Neighbours once.
What?
A long time before you were born. I was an extra. I sat in, this is for your older listeners, I sat in Daphne's cafe.
Oh my God.
Studying, and there you go. That's it. That's all I got.
Sorry. How did that come about?
I worked out that you could make money as a television extra, and that seemed like a really good way to make money. But again, remember before I said I didn't have particularly good geography?
Yeah.
So as it turns out, there's nothing good about trying to get yourself to Nunawading, which is where the studios were at the time to film television. So I did Neighbours, and I did I was an extra in a movie that was shot on Williamstown Beach on a day that was about 13 degrees, and you had to lie on a beach in a pair of bathers while the actress walked up and down the sand doing take after take after take. And after that was the end of my fledgling extras career.
Do you have the footage?
No, and I've never seen it. I mean,
surely
I saw
we
it
could
when it was
source it.
on. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No wonder you're the president. You can do everything, clearly.
Pretty much, that's right.
Except for play football.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me. I can't wait to see what you're going to do and what you're going to continue at the club. It's so exciting, even for female athletes and our North group, that we get to see you appointed our new president. It's amazing, and we're all very excited to have you on board.
Thanks.
Not like you weren't already, but...
No, I'm on board. I'm on board now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Sonja.
Thanks, Dais.